Well, I would pick that as the most likely of anything, probably.
What has it?
That
When
well,
does that
as
happen? First coach to be fired might be the single hardest to do based on the criteria of deserve. So you kind of end up melding the two. I end up usually doing it as a version of prediction, but I will mention a
yeah,
coach. I will mention a coach in this and then not pick them as first coach to be fired because Jason Kidd has a very close relationship with Nico Harrison. In a world where things were evaluated on like let's call it quote unquote normal basis, I think I would have him there, but I would not. So instead, my number one, and you talked about the idea with Ty Lue about hypotheticals and like that it's all about pathways. And remember that not only are teams fundamentally optimistic, but you're dealing in like, I mean, every team has variance. And so you're probably dealing with the bottom 25% for any of these coaches to get fired in season. And for me, the one that has that like most possibility, and we're not hearing this name at all, is Willie Green. Because the idea being the Pelicans, like they might have some challenges here, they might have some stumbles, even though I'm higher on them than you are. And he is probably the most likely, the most logical piece for them to change next if they fail to meet expectations.
yeah, I think that they'll make a big trade before they move on from him. I think they just really love him there. Like I think he's done a good job for them both years that he's been there. I think Jason Kidd is the obvious one to me. I realize he may be close with Nico Harrison, but it's just if they start poorly and like you said, there's some disaster potential with this Dallas group. Like that's the only card left to play, basically at that point. And hey, he might be doing a bad job, and there's these definitely some like little hallmarks of Kittlefinger and this with Casey Smith, their trainer, and just the overall vibes don't seem great. Kyrie Irving, who knows? He's such a wild card. I don't know that Kidd wanted Casey Smith gone, but that's I think a reasonable hypothesis of what happened there. And just that everyone's kind of not getting along, and you just have to go that route. And Jason Kidd has really shown to have a shelf life as a coach. Number two for me is Steve Clifford because he only has a second guaranteed year. I think this season is kind of trending towards being pretty bad in Charlotte as well. There's new management. I mean, I think Mitch Kupchak very easily could be fired as well. In fact, if I were the new owners, I would look to have a new GM in place by the trade deadline because Mitch Kupchak's pretty old. Like he's not going to be the GM for the next 5 years of Hornets basketball.
I mean, he shouldn't have been the GM for the draft. So, yeah, you'd hope that they would replace him quickly.
No, but Michael Jordan was still in control at that point. So, but I think also like when you look at the external situation and what their contract situation is, like guys who are in the last year, their last guaranteed year, their deal, like Clifford. Chris Finch signed an extension, but that's another one where I feel like they may just get desperate if it's not going well and try to find a new voice there. It's like the last gasp before moving on from Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert or whoever it is that they're going to have to move because of their unsustainable financial situation. Anybody else you wanted to throw out there? There's a
Yes.
few others that, yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple more. So my number two is actually, I've never made this prediction before. No coach gets fired in season. I think that with some of the shaky situations are like some of the shaky team situations are with coaches that aren't going to get fired, like Monty Williams in Detroit. Like, yeah, I think Detroit's going to fail to meet expectations. Monty Williams is not going to get fired for that. Wes Unseld just got that option year picked up. Chauncey Billups, I don't think they're going to blame him. They might praise him if
he
the
has
Blazers.
A 5-year deal too. He's in year 3 of a 5-year deal. And like they're just trying to like set a culture and stuff like that. Like
exactly,
they would have to be, Steven Silas level of bad. I think to even
they would. And then my number three, again, it's the scenarios idea, is Ty Lue. And I wrote technically it would be a resignation, but the idea that the Clippers failed to meet expectations, like things are going wrong in season, and like he just doesn't really want to be there anymore. And however it happens, and that could open the door for theoretically someone else to do it. I think Lue does a good job. I think he's a good coach. But on the idea that the Clippers just need something different and go in a different direction.
Yeah, I don't think that happens in season. I think maybe after the season it'll be clear that this era is over. for them, but he's considered to be this really good playoff coach. Like I think as long as their hearts are still beating at all, as far as the playoffs, I think they would want to hold on to him.
I have three more.
They reject it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Jamal Mosley, Billy Donovan,
yeah,
JB Bickerstaff.
I think Donovan got an extension, didn't he?
I think he did, but you never.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be a situation, except for their owner, where they would just fire everybody. Should have happened a while ago.
Yeah, I mean Mosley's an interesting one. I think they like the way that the development's happening there. I think it would have to just be a total disaster. And I think the only way that happens is if one of their main guys gets injured, and I think he would get a pass there. But he hasn't gotten an extension yet. I'm sure he was on the usual 4-1, so he could be in the last guaranteed year of his deal. So that's always something to look for. Unseld Jr., I think the stakes are low enough. They did exercise the last year of his contract. It doesn't seem like they would.
I think they want to give him these losses, and I think he's happy to take them.
JB Bickerstaff, if things really go poorly, maybe you could see it happening with the pressure that they have there to succeed with Donovan Mitchell, with him facing a do or die extension at the end of this year, in terms of whether they're going to trade him or not. I mean, JB certainly, I think if they flame out in the playoffs, he's probably gone at that point. But if it's like they're 500 halfway through the season, I could see it just happening now. And I mean, maybe Joe Mazzulla, if like things really just completely fall apart. Again, that's kind of more due to circumstance, but like they have so much talent. If it's just not working with them, I think. But that's I think they're going to be really good. So I'm not predicting that at all. But yeah, so my top three: Jason Kidd, Steve Clifford, and Chris Finch as most likely to be fired. I think we will see a in-season firing, but I certainly acknowledge that it's quite possible we won't. I wouldn't say any of these guys are greater than 50% chance.
Yeah, and mine just have it out there. Willie Green, number one, no coach, number 2, and Jason Kidd, number 3.
I think you're allowed to say no coach.
No firing. I mean, that's a more bold prediction than any individual person, because it means you're saying you're saying 30 things won't cash.
Well, I would pick that as the most likely of anything, probably.
What has when does that happen? It almost never happens.
I would pick no firing as more likely than any one individual.
But Dan will probably look this up now. But like, how often has it happened that like it's more historically anomalous?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, picking the one guy, it's going to be, yeah, if you want
I'll say my fourth is Ty Lue, so if you want to put him up, that's fine. Though I feel dumb not having Clifford there anyway.
Well, you can change up. Like,
no, I'm not
we're
going
allowed to convince each other. Okay.